the first and second Adam, the three daily offerings, and the covenant promise. So let's begin in the book of Adam and Kua. This is where Adam is crying out to Yahuwah for being kicked out, for being cast out the garden into places of darkness. 14 verse 1. Adam said to Elohim, O Yahuwah, take my soul and let me not see this gloom anymore, or remove me to some place where there is no darkness. But Yahuwah Elohim said to Adam, indeed I say to you, this darkness will pass from you every day that I have determined for you until the fulfillment of my covenant, when I shall save you and bring you back again into the garden, into the house of light you long for, where there is no darkness. I will bring you into it in the kingdom of heaven. And again, Elohim said to Adam, all this misery that you have been made to take on yourself because of your transgression will not set you free from the hand of Hasatan and will not save you. But I will, when I shall come down from heaven, and I shall become the flesh of your descendants, and I shall take on myself the infirmity from which you suffer. Then the darkness that covered you in this cave shall cover me in the grave, when I am in the flesh of your descendants. And I, who am without years, shall be subject to the reckoning of years, and of times, and of months, and of days. And I shall be reckoned as one of the sons of men in order to save you. And Yahuwah ceased to commune with Adam. 15. Then Adam and Kua cried in sorrow by reason of Elohim's words to them, that they should not return into the garden until the fulfillment of the days decreed upon them. But they mostly cried and sorrowed because Yahuwah had told them that he would suffer for their salvation. Hallelujah. The first and second Adam and the three daily offerings. So we're going to make the connections between the three daily offerings and the first and second Adam. So the first Adam being the original Adam from the garden, the second Adam being Yahushua HaMashiach, where the second Adam came in the flesh of his brother to make right and redeem the first. Where the first one failed, the second one succeeded, overcame, and was obedient even to death, and overthrew the works of the devil. So we're going to discuss and see how and why the three daily offerings are related to the first and second Adam. And the three daily offerings are, number one, the morning, which is the third hour, which is 9 a.m. The second being the noon offering, which is the 6th hour of the day, which equals 12 noon. And then the evening offering, which is the 9th hour of the day, which equals 3 p.m. So, to make the connection and draw all of this together, let's look at the two Adams. In the book of Adam and Kua and Mark chapter 15. So first we're going to look at the morning offering, the 3rd hour offering in the book of Adam and Kua, chapter 34, verse 5. I'll get it. This is Adam speaking. 34, verse 5. Then you spread your hand and created me out of one element, that of the dust of the earth, and brought me into the garden at the 3rd hour. At the 3rd hour. So at the 3rd hour, the first Adam did what? He entered in. He entered into something. He entered into paradise. He entered into the garden. Now, let's look at the second Adam in Mark 15. And let's see what he entered in. Mark 15, verses 24 and 25. The second Adam. Brother Yashar. Mark 15, 24 and 25. Come on.
Right, Mark 15, chapter 24. And when they impaled him, they divided his garments, casting lots for them, what each one should take. And it was the 3rd hour, and they impaled him.
It was the 3rd hour when they impaled him. So one entered into the garden at the 3rd hour, and the other one entered into suffering, affliction, bringing forth our deliverance, bringing forth the deliverance of the first. The second entered into suffering, affliction, and deliverance for the first. Hallelujah. Now let's go to the noon offering, the 6th hour offering. In the book of Adam and Kua, 37, verse 4. Let's see what took place with the first Adam at the noon time. And it reads, Adam began to pray to Yah and to beseech him to give him of the tree, the fruit of the tree of life, saying thus, O Yah, when we transgressed your commandment at the 6th hour, we were stripped of the bright nature we had and did not continue in the garden after our transgression, no more than 3 hours. So it was at the 6th hour when they sinned, when they transgressed, when they were disobedient. And they did not continue in the garden after transgressing at the 6th hour, no more than 3 hours. The first Adam. Now, let's look at the second Adam and see what took place concerning the second Adam, the redeemer of his brother, at the 6th hour. Mark 15, verse 33, the second Adam. Come on.
Mark chapter 15, verse 33. And when the 6th hour had came, darkness came all over the land until the 9th hour.
Darkness came upon the land until the 9th hour. So with the first Adam, he sinned, he transgressed at the 6th hour. And then with the second Adam, he took on the sin upon himself. He took upon himself the sin of Adam and the sin of the world. And then the first of Adam, he was stripped of his bright nature. And then the second Adam was took on the sins of the world, and the whole world became dark. He bore the weight of the world in complete darkness. The first Adam was stripped of his bright nature, and his flesh was shown. And the second Adam hung there with the weight of the world, the sin of the world upon himself, naked in darkness. The redemption of the first Adam. Hallelujah. And so there's something else I want y'all to think about. How one sin could cost you your life, especially in this time. How one transgression could cost you everything. How one act of disobedience could not only bring death to you, but to everyone who proceeds from you, especially in this hour. Hallelujah. Let's go to the evening offering, the 9th hour. Let's look at the first Adam. Adam and Kua, chapter 37, verse 5. In the evening, the 9th hour, you made us come out of it. You made us come out of it. So at the 9th hour, they came out of something. They came out of the garden. Oh, Yah, we transgressed against you 1 hour, and all these trials and sorrows have come over us until this day. One sin in this hour, in this end time hour, could cost you everything. One act of disobedience could cost you everything. Now let's look at the second Adam and the 9th hour. The second Adam and the 9th hour. Mark 15, verse 34. At the 9th hour, Yahusha cried out with a loud voice, saying, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which is translated, my all, why have you forsaken me? He cried out in pain and agony, asking, why have you forsaken me? But Brother Yashar, let's look at it in Luke 23. Give me 44 through 46. Luke 23, verse 44 through 46. Yahusha at the 9th hour.
Luke chapter 23, verse 44. And it was now about the 6th hour, and darkness came all over the land until the 9th hour. And the sun was darkened, and the veil of the dwelling place was torn in two. And crying out with a loud voice, Yahusha said, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit.
Mm.
And having said this, he breathed his last.
he breathed his last. So it was at the 9th hour that he cried out, asking, "Why have you forsaken me?" And he breathed his last for the redemption of the first. For the redemption of the first. So one was kicked out of the garden in the 9th hour, and the other one left this plane of life at the 9th hour to redeem the first. Think about this. I want y'all to envision Adam getting kicked out the garden. Look what he could have possibly been saying as he left out the garden at the 9th hour. Look at this. What could have been the words of Adam as he left? My all, why have you forsaken me? And then he walked out and seen the garden no more. Barak Yahuwah. I want to add a little something. Think about this. It was at the 9th hour when Adam and Kua were kicked out of the garden. And then Yahuwah placed a messenger there with a flaming sword to prevent them from entering back in, to prevent them from coming back into the garden at the 9th hour. At the 9th hour, a veil of separation was placed between Yahuwah and the garden and Adam and mankind. And then with the second Adam, at the 9th hour, that same veil of separation was tore down, ripped from the top down to the bottom at the 9th hour. Hallelujah. So it goes from there to the Torah. So in the Torah, our ancestors gave these offerings of bulls and goats and sheeps to try to appease what had transgressed, the transgressions of the first. They offered up 3 times a day bulls and goats and sheeps to try to make right what was done. But Yahuwah doesn't desire the flesh and the blood of sheeps and goats, but of us. He desires us to be living sacrifices. He desires our lives to be living offerings to appease him, to make right what was done by the first. So when we turn and when we are immersed, we attach ourselves to the second, and he is pleased by us living a righteous life and by us turning away from the ways of the world. That is what appeases him. And then we become living sacrifices when we attach ourselves to him. But we must be, as the offerings were, clean, perfect, and without blemish. We are the living sacrifices. Let's go to Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. Romans chapter 12, verses 1 and 2. We are the living, now we are the living sacrifices. verse 1, it says, I call upon you, therefore, my brothers and sisters, through the compassion of Elohim, to present your bodies a living offering, a living sacrifice, set apart, kadush, holy, well-pleasing to Elohim. That is your reasonable worship. So there we're getting the first clue of what these sacrifices are. It has to do with what? Worship. One part of it is worship. Here goes more clues to it in verse 2. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, so that you prove what is good and well-pleasing and what? Perfect desire of Yahuwah. He desires us to be new, well-pleasing, and perfect. And one part of it is what? Our worship. Our worship. Hallelujah. So let's continue to build on this, because we have sinned, we have transgressed, but we are now in the time of redemption. We have reached the consummation of things, and he is standing at the camp door, calling his children back into fellowship. He is standing at the gate of the garden, calling us back, inviting us back into fellowship. He is standing at the corners of our heart and inviting us into fellowship with him, into the marriage supper of the Lamb. Let's go to Hosea 14, verses 1 and 2. Hosea 14, verses 1 and 2. Brother Yashar. Hosea 14, verses 1 and 2. He is calling us back into the garden. He is inviting us to the wedding feast. Hosea 14, verses 1 and 2. Come on.
Hosea 14, verse 1. O Yasharah, return to Yahuwah your Elohim, for you have stumbled by your crookedness. Take words with you and return to Yahuwah. Say to him, take away all crookedness and accept what is good, and we render the bulls of our lips.
The bulls of our lips. So there goes more clues to these offerings. One is to turn, to be perfect. It is involved with worship and something to do with our lips. The sacrifices of our lips is what he desires, not the blood of bulls and goats. So he's trying to prepare a people fit for him, because great danger is coming. Let's go to Daniel chapter 6. Daniel chapter 6. Plots are coming against our people. They plotted upon our people in the times of Daniel. They plotted upon our people in the time of Esther. They plotted upon our people in the times of the Maccabees. They plotted upon our people in the times of Psalms 83. And so if you ball all of those up together, great plotting and great coming after our people is approaching. So now let's look at the plots against Daniel. So here you have these men who made up this law that no one should worship any other mighty one, any other deity, except the gods of the Medes and Persians. Not doing it so that other people were doing it, but aimed specifically at Daniel, aimed specifically at the Hebrew boy. And so they deceived King Darius into signing this decree to get Daniel. But let's look at how Daniel handled this. What was his reaction? How did he handle this when this law was signed? Daniel chapter 6, verses 9 and 10. Come on.
Daniel chapter 6, 9, and 10. So sovereign Darius signed the written interdict. And Daniel, when he knew that the writing was signed, he went home, and in his upper room with the windows open toward Yerushalayim, he knelt down on his knees 3 times a day.
3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. He knelt down 3 times a day, morning, noon, and evening. Now we're going to get more clues as to what Yahuwah desires in these offerings. The first one is worship. What else? Come on.
And he prayed and gave thanks before his Eloah, as he had done before.
So it is worship, it is praying, and it is giving thanks 3 times a day. Hallelujah. That brought forth the deliverance of Daniel. Now, let's look at what Daniel could have been possibly saying as he was thrown into the lion's den. What could have been the thoughts and the mindset as he was thrown in the lion's den? Because this is the mentality, and these are the actions that we must imitate. Let's go to Tehillim 55. Tehillim 55, verses 16 through 18. Think about this. This could have been literally Daniel's mindset. Tehillim 55, verse 16 through 18. Come on.
Tehillim 55, 16.
Think about Daniel.
And I call upon Elohim, and he saves me. Evening and morning and at noon, I complain and moan, and he hears my voice.
There goes the offerings. Evening, morning, and noon. I complain and moan and make my voice heard. So there goes more things that are attached to these offerings. It is a time to make your complaints known to Yahuwah. It is a time to cry out to Yahuwah. Yahuwah looks down upon us at these hours to receive his gifts, because these are his gifts. So this is the time when you have his attention. This is the time to give him his thanks. This is the time to give him his worship. This is the time to give him his praise. This is the time to bring your concerns to him, to cry out to him, because he is bending down, humbling himself from on high at these hours to come and receive them. Hallelujah. Number 18. Think about Daniel after he did that.
Verse 18, he has redeemed my life in peace from the battle against me, for there were many against me.
Hallelujah. Do you see how do y'all see how that perfectly matches Daniel? that perfectly matches him in his situation of what he could have been going through.
Barak Yahuwah.
Hallelujah. So he hears. He hears. He is waiting on us to cry out to him, and then he has given us times when to do it. Now, of course, not only then, but he has laid out a format in which we are to do it. And then this will bring about our deliverance. He hears and he will deliver as promised. Let's go to Jeremiah 33. Jeremiah 33. And I'm going to read verses 6 through 11. He hears and he will deliver as promised. Verse 6. See, I am bringing relief and healing, and I shall heal them and reveal to them riches of peace and truth. And I shall turn back the captivity of Judah and the captivity of Yasharal, and shall build them as at the first. And I shall cleanse them from all their crookedness that they have sinned against me. And I shall pardon all their crookedness that they have sinned, and by which they have transgressed against me. And it shall be to me a name of joy, a praise, and a pride before all the nations of the earth, who hear all of the good I am doing to them, and they shall fear us and tremble for all the goodness and all the peace I am doing to us. Thus says Yahuwah, in the place of which you say, it's dried up without man and without beast, in the cities of Yahudah and in the cities of Yerushalayim, that they are deserted without man and without inhabitant and without beast. Look, in those places there shall be once again heard the voice of joy, the voice of gladness, the voice of who? The bridegroom, the voice of who? The voice of the bride, and the voice of those who are saying, praise Yahuwah of hosts, for Yahuwah is good, and his loving commitment is forever. For who? Of those who are bringing the offering of praise into the house of Yahuwah. For I shall turn back the captivity of the land as at the first, declares Yahuwah. So even in the kingdom, even when we get back to the land, we will be doing what? Still bringing him our offerings 3 times a day. And right there, he makes it clear what it is he desires. Offerings of praise. Because think about it. At that point, there will be no more mourning. There will be no more groaning and complaining. But nothing but what? Praising and rejoicing. Hallelujah. So now let's close. Let's put a cap on all of it and show that in the kingdom we will be only praising. Let's go to Ezekiel chapter 20. Hallelujah. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 40 and 42. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 40 through 42. That these offerings started way with the first Adam, went through to the second Adam, and are now in us through praise and worship and petitioning. And when it's all said and done in the kingdom, for 1,000 years, we will be praising and worshiping Yahuwah. Ezekiel chapter 20, verses 40 to 42 to close. On my mountain, on my set apart mountain, on the mountain heights of Yasharal, declares the Master Yahuwah. Look, there, all the house of Yasharal, all of them in the land, shall serve me, and there I shall accept them, and there I shall require your offerings, and the first fruits of your offerings, together with all your kadush gifts, with all your set apart gifts. I shall require them as a sweet fragrance. I shall accept you when I bring you out from the peoples, and I shall gather you out of the lands where you have been scattered. And I shall be set apart in you before the nations, set apart in you. So they shall see what? His set apart in us. They shall see the light in us. I shall be set apart in you before the nations. 42. And you shall know that I am Yahuwah when I bring you into the land of Yasharal, into the land for which I lifted up my hand in oath, in the land which I lifted up my hand in covenant, the covenant promised to Adam and to Abraham. When I lift up my hand in oath, in covenant, to give to your forefathers. Hallelujah. The first and second Adam and the three offerings. So be it. Rock Yahuwah.
So be it.
Rock
Yes.
Yahuwah.
Barak Yahuwah.
Yes. Hallelujah. So the conclusion of the whole matter is this: by the sin, the transgression, and the disobedience of the first Adam, a veil of separation was put up between mankind and Yahuwah, our power. And then the second Adam, being sinless, being perfect, and being obedient, even unto death of the stake and suffering, ripped down the veil of separation in two, from the top down to the bottom, from the beginning of creation with Adam, all the way down to us, the remnant of his seed at the end of times. He ripped it open. So now we can boldly enter into that secret place, not with the blood of bulls and goats, but with the precious blood of Yahusha HaMashiach, the Redeemer of his brothers, the Redeemer of his children, the Redeemer of his bride, the Redeemer of his friends. And so now 3 times a day, we can enter into his courts with praise and come through the gates with thanksgiving, morning, noon, and evening. because what the first Adam put up, the second Adam tore down. Hallelujah. I pray that that was edifying for you all. Shalom.